Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of this week's Health Update. My name is Dave Swain, Master Distributor for Trivaren International. In case you haven't heard about Trivaren, let me give you a brief introduction. Trivaren is destined to become a household name because Trivaren represents the latest technology in natural health and weight loss. Over the last 12 years, Roy Williams, Jan Marie Hornack, and a group of scientists have developed 41 products, one that is patented, and 37 others that fall under a patents pending based on the original patent. These products are literally changing people's lives. To help you understand what I mean, this company's never advertised outside North Alabama or Middle Tennessee, yet they ship their products all over the United States and into 7 other countries. Now, you may be asking, how in the world could they be so widely distributed without advertising? The answer is very simple. These products work so well, people can't stop talking about them. Today, we're going to be talking about a couple of these products, and to help me deliver this important message, let me introduce you to the founder, owner, and CEO of Trivaren International, Mr. Roy Williams.
Well, hello, Dave, and let me thank you for helping us deliver information to our audience that will inevitably change the way people look at healthcare for the rest of their lives.
Well, Roy, it's a pleasure to have you in the studio today. And first, let me say, I just can't express how good I feel about being a part of something so vitally important to America and to the rest of the world. Having served in the military for 15 years, then being a part of the civilian workforce, both, as a business owner and as an employee, over the last 22 years. Now, during that time, I was a witness to how the pharmaceutical industry and the medical profession do business, and I was, to say the least, disillusioned. I believe a lot of people listening will be able to relate to my story. I was one of those that tried to do everything my doctors told me to do. I took the medications they prescribed, avoided the foods they wanted me to avoid, got a reasonable amount of exercise, but I still had 3 heart attacks. Talk about disheartening. I lost almost all faith in America's so-called healthcare system. At that point, I was ready to try alternative therapies, and that's when I was introduced to you. One thing that stuck in my mind when we talked was that almost 100% of the people that followed your advice within just 1 year were getting better medical reports. Now, it seemed to me that even though I was following the instructions suggested by my doctor and taking the drugs they prescribed, that my health was only getting worse. But after just a few weeks on your program, I started feeling like a much younger man. My energy levels improved dramatically, my blood pressure was much easier to control, shortness of breath disappeared, and most of my aches and pains had faded dramatically. So, Roy, let me ask you, how do you explain your success, and why are so many people seeking your advice?
Dave, the thing that most people in America are fast becoming aware of is that the medical profession really doesn't have a health care system. In reality, America has a very good sick care system. I've often said that if all you want to do is be made more comfortable while you go on and die, then America's the right place to live. On my radio and TV interviews, I often request people to name one disease we've cured in the last 60 years using synthetic drugs. Of course, no one ever responds because the answer is 0. Do you believe that we just don't have the technology to cure disease, or that maybe we just don't have a desire to cure disease? Let me remind everyone listening to the medical profession, pharmaceutical industry, hospitals, and even insurance companies that they are dependent on sickness for their income. The sicker we become, the more money they make. Have you ever noticed how many times a doctor or prescription will say, "Do not stop taking this drug without consulting your physician"? Dependency is part of their success.
Well, yeah, I've heard that. Well, let me ask you this. How is that model different from Trivaren?
Oh, that's easy, Dave. Our business is actually built around wellness. If by following our program you become healthier, aren't you going to share your experience with others? While allopathic medicine and the medical profession, pharmaceutical industries are dependent on sickness to stay in business, Trivaren is dependent on health to stay in business. Let me explain that. You see, we build our business around health and nutrition. They build their business around sickness and drugs.
Well, and that's precisely why I accepted the role of master distributor for Trivaren. My health has improved so dramatically that I feel it is my duty to help others achieve the same results. I believe that it's not only a duty, but I believe that it may be one of the noblest causes to be involved with today. Roy, what do you believe is the most important issue facing America's health?
the cost of the modern day sick care system and obesity.
Well, do you mind elaborating on that, Roy?
Not at all. The only thing I'm going to say about the cost of health care is compare the cost of a hospital room, doctor's visits, prescriptions, and over-the-counter drugs today with just 30 years ago. If the cost of beef had gone up as much as drugs, it would cost $1,500 per pound, and yet we haven't found the cure for even one disease. Can you name one more industry that can possibly raise their prices so much and still be in business? If we keep going the direction we're going, this one system will bankrupt our country. I truly believe the only possible solution is to get serious about prevention in place of sick care, and that is what Trivaren is all about. At Trivaren, we truly believe that God designed the human body to heal, and that when provided the raw material that's necessary, it not only knows how to heal, it will. Concerning obesity, did you know that according to the CDC, that's the Centers for Disease Control, obesity rates are soaring in the U.S.? Most people are somewhat aware because of the news, but let me give you some sobering information. Between 1980 and 2000, obesity rates doubled among adults. That's in just 20 years. Isn't it interesting that a few years earlier, America was taught to avoid eggs, butter, whole milk, red meat, and animal fat for cooking so they'd lose weight? About 60 million adults, or over 30% of the American population, are now obese. Could that be a coincidence? Similarly, since 1980, overweight rates have doubled among children and tripled among adolescents. Did you realize that the amount of soft drinks consumed by children also doubled during that same time period? Could that be a coincidence? Also, according to the CDC, obesity is already having an adverse impact on young people with type 2 diabetes, once believed to affect only adults. Type 2 diabetes is now becoming commonplace among children and teenagers. Can you imagine what type of financial impact that's going to have on Americans, on the American system, the out-of-control healthcare budget? In some communities, almost half of the pediatric diabetes cases are type 2, while not so long ago the total was close to zero. Although childhood onset type 2 diabetes is still a rare condition, overweight children with this disease are at risk of suffering the serious complications of diabetes, such as kidney disease, blindness, and amputations. 61% of overweight 5 to 10-year-olds already have at least one risk factor for heart disease, and 26% have 2 or more risk factors. These same children are also at greater risk of cancer. That's the most expensive disease in America. Arthritis, which is the number one cause of disability, autoimmune diseases such as fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, lupus, Crohn's, Epstein-Barr, psoriasis, ulcers, and other digestive disorders, not to mention that an obese child is at least 50 times more likely to suffer from low self-esteem and depression. Dave, America simply can't afford to keep going in this direction. What other industry can have such an obvious, large failure rate and still be in business?
Well, you know, Roy, you've shared with me that in the late 1900s, obesity was almost unheard of in America. Only about 1 out of 500 Americans had diabetes, and that was type 1. Type 2 diabetes was rare indeed. But today they're warning us that if something drastic doesn't happen by 2015, that upwards of 50% of the children over 15 could be diabetic. Heart disease has actually tripled since the early 1900s. What do you think the reasons for such changes in America's health?
Well, Dave, there are many factors, but let me elaborate on the most important ones. Take note that in the early 1900s, most Americans ate foods that came from the local farms, grown in rich soils without many pesticides, fertilizers, or other chemicals being used. Because of the modern-day farming techniques, our soils are depleted of the minerals necessary for good health. They're cooked and processed, which destroys most of the vitamins, leaving us extremely deficient of these life-giving, cell-building nutrients. Do you ever wonder why so many Americans are overweight and why we have the highest number of obese people on earth? Why is it that we have more diet products, more diet plans, more weight loss commercials, more diet drugs, and more weight loss doctors than any other country on earth, and we're still the most likely nation on earth to have overweight issues or be obese? Yes, we are the richest nation on earth, which means the availability of food has never been easier. That, of course, is one of the problems, but we also have the technology to produce the highest quality foods on earth. We simply aren't doing it. Why is that? The food industry, like any industry, is all about sales. The more food they sell, the more money they make. Now, let me make myself perfectly clear. I am a capitalist, and I don't see anything wrong with that. We have been taught that America has the highest quality food on earth. That is a lie. Today, we're going to learn the truth, and if you're serious about losing weight and keeping it off, then this is the program for you. Let me warn you, though, when I'm finished, you'll no longer have an excuse for being heavier than you wish to be. You may continue to make excuses. You may even sabotage your own success, but you can never say you don't know how to lose weight and keep it off. So after today's program, you may have the freedom and the knowledge to lose weight permanently if you choose. Let me change that word may to you will have. The truth is America has the most food of any nation on earth, and arguably we may even have some of the best tasting food on earth. But to believe it is healthy may be causing you great harm. The food industry learned long ago that it is easier and cheaper to produce food that is high in carbohydrates and bad fat than it is to produce foods that are high in nutrition and good fat. One good example is that in the early 1900s, the average American diet consisted of 80% nutrients and only 20% carbohydrates. Nutrients are what give your body the ability to regenerate healthy cells. By the year 2000, those numbers had all but reversed. Today, the average American diet consists of only about 20% nutrition and 80% carbohydrates.
Well, why is that so important to know, and what does that have to do with obesity and other weight-related issues?
Remember, Dave, your body is in a constant state of repair. You lose 1 million stomach cells every hour, 1 billion skin cells every day, and your body will replace all its soft cell tissue every 11 months. That's everything but your bones and teeth, which takes up to 3 years. The only materials your body can use to manufacture new healthy cells are nutrients. Vitamins, minerals, amino acids, essential fatty acids, and proteins. Carbohydrates, on the other hand, are the materials your body uses for energy. Because the American diet now consists of so much carbohydrate, we are gradually becoming obese. Please understand that fat cells don't store fat, they store sugar. When we eat more starch and sugar than we can possibly burn, the fat cells simply get bigger.
So you could say that an improper balance between nutrition and carbohydrates is one of the causes of obesity. What would you say is the next thing we need to know to help reverse the direction we're traveling in as a nation?
Dave, we simply must recognize that we eat too much. Let me give you another example. Success Magazine, February 2011. In her article, Brittany Glenn makes the point clear in another way about obesity in America. One part of her article is titled Portion Distortion. She uses the French paradox to explain how the French eat more saturated fat than Americans, yet they are slimmer and have a noticeably lower mortality rate from heart disease. She says, and I quote, "The French eat 4 times more butter, 60% more cheese, and nearly 3 times more pork as Americans." Brittany then goes on to explain that the secret is how the French eat. For them, maintaining a slender silhouette is portion control. They eat smaller portions than Americans. From her article, and I quote, "The typical portion served in French restaurants is approximately half the size of a portion served in an American restaurant. Another advantage is that the French take more time to eat and make a habit of enjoying the taste by eating slower."
Well, anyone that's eaten out in the last 20 years knows that the portions seem to always be getting larger.
That's right, Dave, and there are a couple of reasons for that. Americans have a mindset that drives us to overeat. We believe that we should always clean our plates. We should not be wasteful. After all, there are starving children in the world. This was good advice back during the Depression, but it's not such good advice today. We pile enough food on our plates to feed 2 or more people and then feel compelled to eat every bite. Restaurants put 2 times as much on the average plate than is actually necessary to sustain health. The second reason is that it is very beneficial for restaurants to pile double portions on every plate. The way a restaurant makes money is by selling large amounts of food. The more food they order, the cheaper it gets, and the more food they sell, the more money they make. Dave, another main reason America's so overweight is soft drinks. That shouldn't surprise anyone. A sugar-sweetened soft drink has almost 1 teaspoon of sugar for each ounce of its contents. If you're drinking a 10-ounce soft drink, that amounts to almost 10 teaspoons of sugar. 12-ounce, 12 teaspoons, and heaven forbid you drink a 16-ounce soft drink. You might as well put 16 teaspoons of sugar in your mouth and eat it.
Well, Roy, that makes sense, but what about diet soft drinks?
Ooh, I'm so glad you asked that question. Some of the latest research is showing what many have thought to be true for years. The average person drinking diet soft drinks gains 5 to 7 pounds per year, and the reason is aspartame. This artificial sweetener has proven to make your brain think you're putting sugar in your body. As a result, when you drink a diet soft drink, your body begins production of insulin to lower your sugar levels. That creates a big problem. When your blood sugar drops, what do? You have a tremendous desire to eat more. It also makes you thirstier. Talk about a win-win situation for the soft drink industry. They sell you a drink that makes you thirsty, so you're more likely to drink more soft drinks, which in turn causes you to eat more. Have you noticed that the same companies that produce soft drinks own a lot of the fast food restaurants and food manufacturing companies?
Well, Roy, you've made it very clear that obesity and other weight-related disorders are a big problem, and you've even covered what the causes are for many people. The only question left is what can we do about it?
Dave, it took over 5 years to develop the program you're going to learn about. It took another year to develop a product that has made weight loss easier than anyone could have ever imagined, with results being verified by hundreds of participants, and another year to put all the tools together that's going to make it available to the public. What are you about to hear? By the way, what you're about to hear is not for those looking for a fad diet or extremely fast weight loss. It is for those who are sick and tired of dieting and losing just to gain it all back plus some extra pounds. It is for those who wish to experience a healthy weight loss that will be effective for the rest of their lives. And the good news is that it doesn't require dieting. As a matter of fact, with the exception of one food item, you can keep eating the food you've always eaten. The program is so logical and inexpensive, almost everyone who participates not only gets the results they're looking for, they love its simplicity.
Well, Roy, I've had the privilege of talking with a few people who are following your advice, and boy, are they excited. One of them said she loves the fact that it's so logical. Just learn the simple concept and take 2 capsules a day. It doesn't get any easier than that. But Roy, help us understand the concept she's talking about.
Believe it or not, Dave, there is a simple solution. You don't have to count calories, go hungry, or even diet. It's a system our family has used for years, and we have successfully maintained a healthy weight. Let me repeat myself. We never diet, eat foods we don't like, or starve. Being overweight or obese is nothing more than overeating. Being slender is nothing more than eating less. There are a lot of people who don't want to hear that, but it's nonetheless true. Some people want us to believe it's a lack of exercise, but in reality, we all know the geek who sits behind a computer all day, never getting any real exercise, and is as slender as a pencil. Taking in more calories than we burn is the problem, yet most people find it hard to cut back. Dave, most people eat entirely too fast. We swallow our food before chewing it thoroughly, and we tend to be distracted while eating. The results are that most Americans eat so much, so fast, that not only do we gain weight, we also develop digestive disorders such as acid reflux, indigestion, gas, and bloating. The solution is so simple that most won't believe it at first. It's simple. Make a habit of eating only half as much. There are 2 studies showing that most Americans will live up to 15 years longer with much better health if we just cut our food intake in half. Remember, that's how the French do it. For 1 week, make the habit of putting only about half the amount on your plate and taking the same amount of time to eat it. It helps to understand that it takes 20 minutes for the brain to get the message that you've eaten. When we take 25 minutes to eat a smaller meal, we find that we're just as satisfied and never end up stuffed to the point of misery. It's not always a problem with what we eat, Dave, so much as it is how much we eat in the 20 minutes it takes to recognize satisfaction.
Well, let me be sure I understand what you're saying. Don't count calories, don't go hungry or diet, put only half as much on your plate and take the same amount of time to eat it as you usually take. The only thing left is that you must be going to tell us what type of foods we can and can't eat.
Well, Dave, the remarkable thing about this method is that there's only one food we strongly recommend everyone stop, and that's soft drinks. When I say stop, I mean no soft drinks at all of any kind ever again. All soft drinks are so acidic that it takes 38 8-ounce glasses of water with 12 pH alkalizing drops in each glass to offset the acid in just one 10-ounce soft drink, not to mention the sugar artificial sweeteners that pretty much guarantee you'll gain weight as long as you drink them.
So what you're telling me and telling all of those listening is we can eat basically the same foods we've always eaten with the exception of soft drinks. Other than eat half as much slowly, don't go hungry, don't count calories, and don't diet. Well, so far I'm liking this program, but what about people with a slow metabolism or thyroid problems or extreme cravings for junk foods and starchy food?
Dave, to make it as easy as possible for people to do the things we just talked about and to help make sure they become slender, we developed Trivaren Trim. Over the last 12 years, we've released 41 products to the market, one patented and 37 others that are under a patents pending. In all those years, we never released a weight loss product until 18 months ago.
So, Roy, you're telling us that you've developed a product to attack this weight problem called Trivaren Trim. What makes this product different from all the other weight loss products on the market?
Dave, you ask the best questions. Trivaren Trim is formulated to help in 6 issues of weight loss: energy, appetite, metabolism, clarity of thought, food cravings, and thyroid support.
And Trivaren Trim addresses all of those issues?
Yes, and let me explain. When we finished formulating Trivaren Trim, by the way, most people just call it Trim, we sold it to 100 customers in trial packs. Within 5 days, over 70 of them came back and purchased the bottle.
Wow, they could tell a difference in just a couple of days?
Yes, the first thing almost all of them noticed was that they had more energy without the jitters, shakes, or increase in heart rate. Most of them loved that because they finally had enough energy to get things done. The second thing they talked about was a definite decrease in appetite. Many of our customers say Trivaren Trim makes it easier than ever before to eat less. We formulated Trivaren Trim using some very special brain food. I can think again. My memory seems to be better, and finally I can focus again are statements we hear in the first few days. Trivaren Trim was also formulated to fire up a person's metabolism, targeting the fat around the waist, hips, and thighs. In as little as 3 weeks, most people are talking about their clothes fitting looser. Dave, next thing we did is we added some nutrients, banana leaf and chromium pycniconatate, that have been proven to help a person maintain better blood sugar levels. In just 3 weeks, most people are noticing fewer sugar cravings. And the last thing we added to Trim is Atlantic kelp, which is a very good nutrient source and a source of natural iodine. Many Americans are suffering from sluggish thyroid. This slows down the metabolism and causes you to store more body fat. By supporting the thyroid with natural iodine from Trim, many people are finding weight loss easier than ever before.
Okay, Roy, to be sure our audience understands what you're saying, let me briefly recap. First of all, Trivaren Trim will increase a person's energy so they can move more, which of course means they're going to burn more calories. Trim will decrease their appetite so they can follow your advice and eat half as much. Trim will fire up their metabolism so they do actually burn more body fat. It helps balance the blood sugar, support healthy thyroid function, and last, but certainly not least, it'll help people think clearer, focus better, and may actually improve their memory.
Dave, you summed that up very nicely, and another great thing about this incredible product is that for most people, it only takes 2 capsules a day. Take one about 30 minutes after breakfast and another about 30 minutes after lunch. And Dave, let me tell you something else. My wife and I are living proof. We've literally cut our diet in half, not even meaning to. We simply eat half as much.
Well, so you're saying that's all there is to it.
Dave, If they take Trim as instructed, they'll have the self-control to eat half as much. My wife and I, as I said, are splitting our food and find that about half is all we can eat. This product is such a good appetite suppressor that half is truly enough. Combine that with stopping all soft drinks, and we virtually guarantee positive results.
Well, Trim was formulated and developed and ultimately released in trial packs, and you say about 70% came back to get the month's supply. So what kind of results are people getting?
Well, Dave, here are a few examples. I lost 13 pounds in 2 weeks using Trim. I have more energy, focus, and now can comfortably wear clothes that I was unable to fit into just a year ago. I incorporated the Trim with your idea of eating half as much. I now have reached my ideal weight, losing a total of 20 pounds, thanks to Trim. That's SK, Athens, Alabama. The next one says, the first thing I noticed was that my cravings for sweets had gone away. Then my energy increased, helping me to stay with my exercise program, where in the past I would lose the motivation and stop everything. You know how it is, ups and downs. I now have lost 32 pounds and am looking forward to reaching my ideal weight. Trim has changed my life for the better. That's BD out of Commerce, Georgia. The next one is R&R out of Florence, Alabama. Says, I've lost 40 pounds in 4 months and cut my diabetic medications in half. No other product has ever worked for me. I am now sharing Trim with everyone I know. Only 14 pounds to go thanks to Trim, says JP out of Cookeville, Tennessee. After trying every diet on the market, I was ready to give up until a friend told me about this incredible product called Trim. Now I have lost 54 pounds and am confident I can lose the rest. The Half is Enough Club has made all the difference in me, not only being able to lose weight, I know I can keep it off for the rest of my life. And then finally, we've got H.A. out of Atlanta, Georgia. Harry Alexander, a man in his 50s, used Trim after trying many other diets to lose weight. He said, in his first 3 months, he says, I've lost 24 pounds. It's now been 5 months, and I've lost 32 pounds, and I've gone from a waist size of 42 to 36. And Holly says, I've lost 46 pounds in 5 months with Trim. Before this, I had tried everything to get the weight off, dieting, exercise, you name it. Trim helped control my appetite, so I eat reasonably. I have the energy to do my exercises, and it has also helped me focus and concentrate better. Thanks to Trim for helping me to have the control I needed to lose the weight and get back to the size I wanted to be. Again, yes, I am a loser. Are you?
Well, that's fantastic. And again, Roy, let me thank you for taking time out of your schedule to be in the studio with me today. And to those of you listening, I want to encourage you to get back with the person that gave you this information and thank them for thinking of you. Have them answer any questions you may have, and let's make a positive difference in people's lives. Again, this is Dave Swaim. Thanks for listening.